This video is the most important video I've presented to you people. Please, please listen to it and spread it as fast as you can before it's too late. Okay, I'm going to start a new subject, and I've talked about this subject before, but I'm going to give you more details and tell you in a different way historical facts. One of the problems, I watch Fox News, of course, only, is they're great people, great Americans, but none of them are educated enough in history, or they, I don't know, they've obscured it out of their minds by their pre-programming of the communists, you know. I'm not sure. But I'm going to give you some historical facts you can check out. Everything I'm saying, don't check it out on the net. Check it out in graduate libraries or very big libraries, and look who you're reading. Look who you're reading from. The older scholars write the truth about things. That's a good way to determine that. And you may have to check other sources to see who's writing these things, because there's a lot of mishistory printed out there, in print and audibly. Okay, let me start by saying this. If you don't stop this police action theory, and especially against Islamics, okay? If you don't stop it by voting these people out of office and pressure and everything else, I'll tell you what's going to happen. It's going to be a nuclear war. Unquestionably. Unquestionably. I know this for a fact. But you have time to stop it. There's going to be a nuclear war. Are you listening to me, folks? Especially you people intelligent in Fox News. Hopefully they watch this too. It's going to be a nuclear war. Okay? Now, you know, we can talk about how the economy is going to fall apart, etc., etc. Nobody wants a nuclear war. Even these Machiavellian communists don't. But they can't see that it's coming. They may see that it's coming if you listen to certain remarks, you know, like some of the congressmen and senators say they're afraid of violence. Well, I don't know if they're afraid of violence internally, because that's under control by their fascist organizations, but they may be afraid of violence because of this nuclear potential. I hope you know this. There's something like, I don't know, I've heard different numbers, 50 to 500. I've heard there's all 900 nuclear suitcases that the Russians made that are unaccountable for. And if there are, don't you think that there's some Arab organizations that are trying to get them, or perhaps have them already? I think they have them already. I think they're just, you know, waiting off to the right moment to use them and get them into the right places and everything. It's probably why the FBI is arresting these people with little evidence and little prosecutionable evidence. They don't generally do that. You know, they arrest people when they have tons of evidence, so they get a conviction. They may be afraid of this. You know, like I say, there's a lot of Russian nuclear bombs that are very devastating bombs. They're not big explosions. They're about 1/10 of what went off at Hiroshima and Nagasaki. But they're very dirty bombs. They spread a lot of radiation, which will cause a lot of cancer for years and years. Millions will die from these if they ever explode one in the continental United States. And that's what's going to happen unless you stop them. Now, let me tell you something about Islamics that you don't know. Then the politicians know this, and you say, well, why don't they report it to us? I hope they know it. Okay, it was formed by a man named Muhammad. And he said he was the last prophet of God, so therefore you have to follow everything he says. Now, in the time that he did this, that part of the world was chaos and barbaric. To give you a perfect example is the fathers, if they had a girl, 1 out of 7, I believe it was. It might be 1 out of 5. 1 out of 7, they let live the girl. But if every child was a girl that the mother gave birth to, they had to take the child out and chop it up in pieces and throw it to the animals. Barbaric, insane society. So Muhammad, stopped some of that. But what he prevailed with is, long-term wise, is worse than that. So, and what he did, it's very important for you to understand this. For 1,500 years, Islamics were not educated, not at all. The only thing they were educated in is memorizing the Quran and absolute command. So, these people are really not bad. They're just not evolved. And that's all Islamics, except for the ones that have come to America, have obviously become educated, and that's why they're not as violent. But don't trust them, because they're probably giving money through various chains back to the people who are violent. And that's most of Islamics are violent. They're uneducated, okay? They've just started education. And there's a program that I'm sure the government probably took off the air. It's called Sleeper Cell, that shows some of these things. You ought to go to HBO and demand that they put it back on the air, but they probably got afraid of the FBI because the FBI probably took it off. But it shows some of the things I'm telling you. Somebody was real smart in the production of that. That doesn't show it to the level that I'm telling you historically, but it does show that they just started education, but they educate their children from a very biased perspective. Okay, so first of all, they're not evolved people for the masses. The only ones that are here in America, and they're just beginning to get evolved because of education. The second thing, part of what they're taught in their religion, you know, to give life and die, they're going to go to heaven and all that, all the things you've heard and more. But you know what they're taught? They're taught that if you become their enemy, they're not just to kill you, they'll hate you and your family and your descendants. Listen to me. This is what they're taught. Get a version of the Quran. You know, don't listen to what I'm saying. Get an American version of the Quran. It's very hard reading, and you know, it'll kind of make you sick and want to vomit because it's not a religion of love. It's a religion of hate and destitution and just, you know, hypocrisy to mankind. But read it. You'll see it. They're taught to hate your children and kill your children if they can. You know, this is what they're taught from youth. And remember, for 1,500 years, this is the only thing they were taught. Now they're being taught some other things, but they're also being still taught that, but they're being taught some other educational things. But on a very small, maybe 5% of them or 10% of them are really being educated. And then the ones that are allowed to come to America are even smaller than that. Maybe it's a fraction of a percent. They're also taught to conquer the world and pass on their religion, by the way. Let me tell you a story. It was probably 1984. Ayatollah Khomeini was in charge of Iran, or had just taken over Iran after the Shah of Iran was disposed of. And I was going to school, and there was 3 Arabs. They said they were from Saudi Arabia. One was not. He was from Iran, and I became friends with them, and I'd help them in the class because they didn't speak real good English, and they were, you know, at a college called Madonna College. Maybe check the records out that I went there at that time. And so I was friends with these guys, and we were in some history class, and this history professor believed in opening the class with, you know, current events type of thing. And so he brought up the subject of Ayatollah Khomeini had just taken over, and made a theocracy, which I'm sure you know what it is. And before that, it was not. It was, not a democracy. It was, government run by the Shah of Iran. Even though religion was prevalent, it didn't control things. Okay, I got to talk fast because I'm running out of time. Well, during this class, I raised my hand and I asked the question. I said, does Ayatollah Khomeini really think he can maintain control coming from, dictatorship to a theocracy? And one of the guys next to me, who was a friend, jumped up and wanted to kill me. The other guys grabbed him, and some other people grabbed me, and they pulled out of class. And make a long story short, he was going to kill me, kill my family, and kill my generations of family beyond that. And this is a guy that's becoming educated. Why did he do that? Because he was taught from a child, from 1,500 years they were taught to do this. You see the problem here? Are you beginning to see the problem when they talk about war in Afghanistan, etc., etc.? You can't, this is a religious war to these people, and they've been impregnated with concepts that are 1,500, 2,000 years old, and evil concepts. You can't negotiate or anything. The only thing you can do with these people is leave them alone. Get out of Israel. Get out of the whole world. Then they'll start saying, then they probably won't be in a nuclear war. There'll probably be a nuclear war, but it'll be isolated there when Israel is attacked. Probably Israel will have to use nuclear weapons. They will probably try not to, but they probably will, because they'll start dominating the world. Unless these people evolve with education. Anyhow, they kept this guy away from me, and one of my friends came back to me, the other from Saudi Arabia, and he told me that the other guy was from Iran, and he said, you really don't understand this. And at the time I didn't, because I hadn't read the Quran. I hadn't started studying this in depth. Do you know what? He told me that this guy, for me just questioning this, would try to kill me, try to kill my family. So I told him that, next time I saw him, if that's his philosophy, I would kill him. And I told him they didn't know I was an ex-Marine and has a special training and everything, and I guess they told him that, and he never did attack me. But they told me more significant than that. He not only hates me for my life, he hates my family's life and my grandchildren and grandchildren after that. Do you see their philosophy? These reporters report these stories, and they're not telling you the total truth here. I'm running out of time, and I must quit. And I'm sorry. I'll do some more on this later.